I've decided to start a new life without you. Those words sliced through the air like broken glass. We were seated in a high-end restaurant, celebrating my daughter's college graduation. My husband of nearly 3 decades, Martin Lawson, stood with his champagne flute still raised, hijacking what should have been a toast to our daughter, Jenna, into a personal declaration of abandonment. For a moment, the room fell silent. Conversations halted. Glasses stopped clinking. 50 people, family, friends, co-workers, stared at us in stunned disbelief. They were waiting for my reaction. Maybe for tears, maybe for a dramatic breakdown. But I didn't give them that satisfaction. Instead, I simply smiled and replied, "Thank you for your honesty. I'm Camille Lawson. I'm 54. And up until that moment, I had perfected the role of the devoted wife and selfless mother. I'd shelved my career ambitions to support Martin through every career pivot, every reinvention phase. I raised our daughter Jenna while Martin explored business after business, none of which lasted long. Jenna sat beside me, still in her cap and gown, frozen in shock. From across the room, I spotted Vanessa Drake, the much younger woman Martin had been secretly seeing. Shifting uncomfortably. She had been to our holiday parties, once even called me for advice on her resume. And now she was seated at a table with guests I thought were lifelong friends who, judging by their expressions, had known more than I did. With calm precision, I reached into my purse and pulled out a cream-colored envelope. I set it beside Martin's plate. "What's this?" he asked. Confused. "Something for later," I said softly. Turning to Jenna, I kissed her cheek. "I'm so proud of you, sweetheart. This day still belongs to you." Then I stood, adjusted my dress, and addressed the room. "Please enjoy your meal. I wish you all a wonderful afternoon." And with that, I walked out, dignified, composed. My head held high, leaving 50 stunned guests and one very soon-to-be ex-husband behind me. The moment I stepped outside, the warm Georgia air hit me like a wall. But instead of discomfort, I felt an odd sense of relief, like I could finally breathe again. For the first time in years, I wasn't performing for anyone. I wasn't holding anyone else together. Behind me, the restaurant door flew open, slamming against the frame. I didn't even flinch. "Camille." Martin's voice had lost its usual swagger. Now, it was shrill. Panicked. "What the hell is this? What have you done?" I didn't stop walking. I allowed myself a small smile. That envelope he was clutching? It wasn't just a symbolic gesture. It was the first move in a long-planned strategy. While Martin had been whining and dining Vanessa and dreaming of beachfront escapes, I'd been quietly preparing. For most of our marriage, Martin had been the dreamer, the risk-taker. I was the one who made sure the bills got paid. I handled the finances, balanced our investments, and made sure there was always money for Jenna's education, even when Martin sank funds into his friend's failed brewery or his 6-month passion project of building custom furniture. My own dreams had always come second. I told myself, once Jenna graduates, once Martin finds stability. But Martin never wanted stability, he wanted escape. And when I noticed the first few suspicious bank transfers 3 months ago, I knew. He wasn't just escaping the marriage. He was trying to take the foundation out from under me too. At first, I considered confronting him. But instead, I chose something better, evidence. I tracked every hidden transaction, every romantic dinner with Vanessa charged to a business card, every unauthorized withdrawal. I kept everything. Quietly. Strategically. And I contacted an attorney. The divorce papers I handed Martin that morning? Filed hours before his big announcement. Filed before he could claim assets or twist the story. They were waiting at the courthouse, sealed but ready. And that prenup he once insisted on to protect his future? It had a fidelity clause. One he broke. One that would cost him everything. Martin thought he was walking away on his terms. He had no idea I was already 5 steps ahead. I didn't go back to the restaurant. Instead, I drove straight home, our colonial-style house nestled in Augusta's historic district. The same home Martin had promised to Vanessa, according to one of the text messages I found. He didn't realize I had already seen it all. I pulled into the driveway, parked like I had done thousands of times before, and stepped inside. Everything looked familiar. The framed photos lining the hallway, the antique grandfather clock passed down from my father, the living room couch where Martin and I had once curled up to plan family vacations. But the air felt different now, charged, detached. Like the house knew what was coming. Upstairs, in the master bedroom, I opened our shared closet. As expected, Martin's side had already been pre-packed. 2 large suitcases were tucked into the back corner, zipped and ready. He had planned to leave the next day. I shook my head. Always neat about appearances. Never about consequences. My phone buzzed repeatedly, messages from dinner guests, some offering support, others fishing for drama. There were texts from Jenna, too, and even Martin's sister, Dana, who had flown in from Colorado for the graduation. But I only replied to one person. Jenna. I'm okay. This isn't your burden to carry. Enjoy your day. We'll talk tonight. I love you. I had made a decision early on not to let this chaos touch her final semester. She'd worked so hard, carried so much pressure, and deserved better than to have her big day shadowed by our family's unraveling. She might be angry I kept it from her, but in time, I knew she'd understand. Jenna inherited my sense of logic and Martin's charm, a mix that had helped her graduate with honors. And despite the emotional wreckage left behind today, I took comfort in knowing that she, at least, had her future wide open. Mine? It was being rewritten by the hour. And not by accident. I'd spent months preparing for this moment. And it was just getting started. 3 hours later, I heard the unmistakable sound of Martin's car pulling into the driveway, fast and aggressive. The front door flung open with a loud bang. Camille, he bellowed. Where are you? I was exactly where he didn't expect me to be, calmly seated in the living room, reviewing financial documents on my laptop. I closed it slowly as he stomped in, his face red. The envelope crumpled in his hand. What is the meaning of this? He snapped. You served me with divorce papers? Today? Are you out of your mind? I looked him straight in the eyes. Actually, I thought it lined up perfectly with your plans. You said you were starting a new life. I'm just helping speed that along. You had no right. I had every right, I interrupted firmly. Just like you had the right to choose Vanessa. Choices come with consequences, Martin. He smirked. That prenup expired years ago. My lawyer said it wouldn't hold up. I leaned back slightly. Did he now? You should have hired someone better. Section 14 of the agreement clearly states the fidelity clause remains enforceable for the full duration of the marriage. You'd know that if you'd actually read it, or consulted an attorney who specializes in family law. The color drained from his face. That prenup, his idea from the start, was now his downfall. The house, the retirement accounts, the joint investments, I continued. You gave them all up the moment you decided to play house with your girlfriend. He slumped onto the couch, stunned silent for a moment. His phone buzzed. He glanced at it, ignored it. Vanessa wondering where you are? I asked, voice even. You've always been cold, he muttered. Calculating. What about our history? Our history meant something to me, I said quietly. That's why your betrayal cut so deep. He tried to soften. Maybe we can fix this. No, I said, the word firm, final. This wasn't a mistake, Martin. This was a year-long operation. One I saw coming. And one I refused to let destroy me. Martin's mouth opened, then closed. He seemed to be grasping for the right words, any words, to flip the power back in his favor. I had seen that look before. He wasn't sorry. He was stunned that his plan had failed. "You're exaggerating," he said finally, a hint of smugness returning. "It's not like I plotted some crime. You're making this bigger than it is." "Am I?" I asked, reaching for my phone on the coffee table. I unlocked it, opened the voice recorder app, and tapped play. Martin's voice filled the room. "After the graduation, I'll tell her it's over. A public setting is better, she won't cause a scene in front of everyone." Then came Vanessa's voice, "And she still doesn't know about the money?" "None. Camille trusts me completely. That's her weakness." I watched the last flicker of color drain from Martin's face. "You recorded us?" he said, stunned. "That's illegal." "Not in Georgia. One-party consent." "And it's my house," I replied coolly. "I didn't record your private moments with her. I'm not cruel. I only recorded your plans to defraud me." He stood up suddenly, pacing, his fingers gripping his hair. "I need to make some calls." "Your attorney might be a good place to start," I said. He paused. "Where are you going to stay?" "At Dana's," I said, referencing his own sister. "She's pretty upset with you, by the way. She saw you and Vanessa together last Christmas. She gave you a chance to come clean. You didn't." The blow hit hard. Martin had always assumed Dana would take his side. He never imagined she'd come to me with the truth instead. "This is betrayal," he muttered, more to himself than to me. "The irony," I said with a faint smile. I stood, picking up my overnight bag. "You have until tomorrow evening to get your things. After that, the locks will be changed." As I opened the door to leave, he called out one last time. "What about Jenna? Have you even thought about what this does to her?" I turned to face him, my voice steel. "Don't you dare use our daughter as a shield. You weren't thinking about her when you started this. Now you'll live with what that means." Martin's phone buzzed again. This time he checked it, and groaned. "Problem?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "It's Vanessa," he muttered. "She's already at the apartment. She moved her stuff in." I raised an eyebrow. "You mean the apartment you supposedly leased last month? The one in both your names?" He nodded slowly, confusion setting in. "You might want to check with the leasing office," I said. "The application never went through. It was flagged for credit inconsistencies. The leasing agent called our landline for verification." I answered. His eyes widened. "You stopped it?" "No. I let it play out," I said, stepping toward the door. "I just made sure it couldn't be finalized without me knowing. Then I left, closing the door on the man who had once claimed to love me and now stood trapped in a web of his own making. Dana lived in a cozy bungalow across town, close to the university where she taught literature. When I arrived, she greeted me with a tight, unspoken hug, the kind only someone who truly knew your pain could offer. "I just heard from Jenna," she said as we stepped into her kitchen. "Are you okay?" "Better than I expected," I admitted. "But he made quite a scene, didn't he?" She poured us both a glass of red wine. In front of everyone. Typical Martin, grand gestures and no thought for the fallout. We settled in her sunroom, where sunlight filtered through hanging plants and the scent of old books filled the air. Dana had never married, content with her independence. Over the years, I'd sometimes envied her peace, her certainty in herself. "What was in that envelope?" she finally asked. "The divorce filing. Full evidence of the financial deception. And the prenup." I took a sip of wine. "It's still active." Dana let out a dark chuckle. "I remember when he forced that on you. Said he needed to protect the money your dad had given him for that ridiculous startup. The irony is, delicious." And as if on cue, my phone rang. It was Jenna. I took a steadying breath before answering. Hi, sweetheart. Jenna didn't wait. Mom, I'm coming to Aunt Dana's. I can't stay here. Honey, you don't have to. I'm okay. I'm already on my way. She said, cutting me off. Dad's telling people you've lost your mind. That you've been plotting this for months. He's saying awful things. Of course he was. Martin had always been good at rewriting the narrative to make himself the victim. Let him talk, I said calmly. The truth has a way of catching up. 20 minutes later, Jenna arrived. Still in her graduation dress, her makeup was smeared from crying. She stepped through the door and into my arms, just like she did when she was little and woke from bad dreams. Why didn't you tell me? She asked against my shoulder. I didn't want to ruin your final semester, I whispered. You worked so hard. This was your moment. She pulled back, brushing tears from her cheeks. Well, Dad ruined it anyway. We moved to the living room, where I told her everything, how I found the financial red flags, the text messages, the real estate searches. The months of deceit. Her face changed as I spoke, cycling through disbelief, anger, and sorrow. I knew something was off, she admitted. He was always distracted. Always on his phone. It's hard to see it in the people we love, Dana said gently. Just then, my phone buzzed again. It was a message from Philip Anderson, my attorney. Emergency filing approved. All flagged accounts frozen pending divorce proceedings. Martin will have limited access, enough for basic living expenses only. I showed it to Jenna and Dana. Good, Jenna said with quiet fury. He deserves that. Her support warmed me. But I knew the line between parental conflict and a child's loyalty was delicate. He's still your father, I reminded her. Whatever happens between us, that bond is yours to manage. Jenna shook her head. Maybe one day. But not right now. He hugged me this morning and told me how proud he was, while planning to destroy everything behind my back. The doorbell rang. Dana went to answer it and returned, her expression grim. It's Martin. And he brought Vanessa. I stood up slowly, my chest tightening. Jenna stiffened beside me. And Dana shot me a warning glance, silently asking if I was ready for this. I nodded once. I was done hiding from any of it. Dana led them into the living room. Vanessa looked painfully out of place, her confident veneer cracking under the tension. She clung to her purse like it was a lifeline, shifting from one foot to the other, eyes flickering around the room without landing on anyone. At 37. She was no naive girl, but she wasn't prepared for this level of fallout. Especially not today. Martin, by contrast, looked furious. He marched into the room like he still had control. Like he thought he could command the situation with sheer volume and presence. Camille, you need to stop this insanity, he snapped. Unfreeze the accounts. Let's talk like adults. Before I could respond, Jenna stepped forward, placing herself between us, small, but unwavering. Maybe you should have tried acting like an adult before blowing up our family in public, she said. Martin blinked, surprised. Jenna, this doesn't involve you. She scoffed. Are you serious? You made a scene at my graduation party. You humiliated Mom in front of our entire family. It involves me more than anyone. Vanessa touched Martin's arm, whispering, Greg, maybe we should go. He shook her off. No. Not until Camille stops this madness. Dana, arms crossed, stepped in. My sister-in-law is the only rational person in this room, Martin. You're the one who turned your life into a circus. I remained seated, calm as ever. The accounts stay frozen until the hearing. That's in 3 days. The judge will decide everything then. 3 days? Martin sputtered. What am I supposed to do until then? You've been funneling money into your personal account for over a year, I reminded him. That should be more than enough. Vanessa's head turned sharply. You have a separate account? With how much in it? The cracks in their united front were immediate. Martin ignored her. You're being vindictive, Camille. This isn't like you. I looked up at him, voice low but firm. Then maybe you never really knew me. Jenna turned toward Vanessa, her expression sharper now, more adult than I'd ever seen her. Did you know he was going to announce it like that? She asked. At my graduation celebration? Vanessa swallowed hard, guilt flickering across her face. I thought he was going to talk to your mother privately. I didn't expect the whole restaurant thing. That wasn't the plan. Martin shot her a glare, betrayed and irritated. The tension in the room thickened. Cracks were growing by the second. I think you both should leave, Dana said flatly. Stepping closer to Jenna. This conversation is over. But Martin wasn't done. He turned to our daughter, desperation creeping into his voice. Jenna, listen, relationships change. Sometimes people grow apart. You'll understand one day. Her face went hard. What I understand is that you're a coward who didn't even have the decency to end things in private. What I understand is that while I was working 2 jobs to help pay for my textbooks because you said money was tight, you were taking Vanessa on vacations and buying her jewelry. Martin opened his mouth to respond, but Jenna cut him off. Don't. Just, don't. The silence that followed was suffocating. Finally, Martin turned without another word. Vanessa followed close behind, pausing at the door to give me one last, unreadable look. But I didn't move. I didn't flinch. I simply watched them go. At the threshold, Martin looked back. This isn't over, Camille. I'll fight you on this. I met his gaze, steady and unshaken. You're welcome to try. As the door closed behind them, Jenna let out a shaky breath and collapsed beside me on the couch. Her tears came quickly this time, the kind you can't hold back once the adrenaline wears off. I've never talked to Dad like that, she whispered. I wrapped my arm around her shoulders and held her close. Sometimes doing what's right hurts. But that doesn't make it wrong. Dana appeared with fresh glasses of wine and raised hers slightly. To new beginnings, she said. I clinked mine gently. To finally choosing ourselves. The preliminary hearing took place on a gray, rainy Tuesday, fitting, in a poetic way. It should have been our 29th wedding anniversary. Instead of celebrating nearly 3 decades together, Martin and I were facing each other across a courtroom, with lawyers and legal documents between us. I arrived with Philip Anderson, my attorney, calm and prepared. Martin showed up late, flustered, accompanied by a young lawyer who looked more suited for corporate mergers than family court. Clearly, Martin had scrambled to hire someone, anyone, without thinking about whether they were the right fit. The judge, an older woman with no tolerance for nonsense, reviewed the documents with a practiced eye. She focused on the prenuptial agreement, the very one Martin had insisted on all those years ago when I had the larger financial standing. This document appears valid, she said, peering over her glasses. Do you contest its enforceability? Martin's lawyer cleared his throat awkwardly. Your Honor, we argue that the prenup should be considered expired due to the duration of the marriage. The judge didn't even look up. Section 18 states clearly that the agreement lasts for the duration of the marriage plus any legal proceedings related to its dissolution. No expiration date is provided. Argument denied. Martin leaned forward, whispering urgently to his lawyer, who only looked more uncomfortable with each passing second. Furthermore, the judge continued, flipping through the evidence. The financial activity presented suggests multiple undisclosed transfers in violation of Section 23. This court will maintain the freeze on joint accounts pending full discovery. She looked directly at Martin. Mr. Lawson, you will retain access to your personal account. The family home will remain in Mrs. Lawson's possession during the proceedings, as stipulated under the infidelity clause. Martin's jaw clenched. His face flushed deep red. "This is outrageous," he muttered under his breath. The judge didn't flinch. "Mr. Lawson, I suggest you read the agreement you signed more carefully next time." As court adjourned, Martin caught up to me in the hallway. "Camille, please. 28 years. Doesn't that count for something?" "It counted," I said, steady. "Until you decided it didn't." And I walked away, heels echoing against the courthouse floor, leaving him to sit with the weight of everything he had thrown away. News spread faster than I anticipated. Within days of the hearing, calls started rolling in, from friends, from former colleagues, even from acquaintances I hadn't spoken to in years. Some offered support. Others wanted details. But I didn't indulge them. I stuck to one line. "Martin and I are separating. These things happen." What I didn't say was that Martin's carefully crafted image, the successful entrepreneur, the devoted husband and father, was unraveling at the seams. The financial freeze blocked him from finalizing the beachfront condo he had promised Vanessa. The luxury SUV he placed a down payment on? Cancelled. The business deal he had lined up using money from our joint accounts? Dead in the water. 2 weeks after the hearing, Dana called me with a smirk in her voice. "Guess who's moving out," she said. I didn't even have to ask. Vanessa packed up yesterday. She told her friend Jennifer that she didn't sign up to date a man with cash flow problems. I laughed. Not out of pettiness, but from the sheer predictability of it all. Martin had always excelled at appearances. He could walk into a room and command it, confident smile, firm handshake, stories of big plans. But all of it was smoke and mirrors. Without me keeping the books, managing the household, cleaning up behind his impulsive decisions, the whole illusion crumbled fast. Meanwhile, I was rebuilding. With the financial safeguards I had put in place years ago, I had full control over my future. I rented a small office space in downtown Augusta and officially launched Lawson Financial Transitions, a consultancy for women navigating major life changes. My first 2 clients came through word of mouth, both women going through rough divorces. From there, things picked up fast. I helped them untangle financial knots, understand what was rightfully theirs, and take back control. It was work that mattered, and for the first time in a long time, it felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Jenna, now settled in Charleston with a marketing job, called me often. "I'm so proud of you, Mom," she told me one night. "You're doing more than just surviving. You're helping other women rise." And she was right. I wasn't just starting over, I was rising higher than ever before. The final divorce hearing landed, with bitter irony, on what would have been our 29th wedding anniversary. Martin looked like a shadow of the man who had once stood beside me in a tuxedo, vowing forever. His suit was wrinkled, his tie crooked, and his expression empty. I later found out that his business had taken a nosedive. Turns out, when you remove the person managing your finances and bailing you out of every mistake, things fall apart fast. Cassandra, Vanessa, was long gone, already dating some real estate developer from Savannah. Most of Martin's friends had quietly drifted away once the truth came out. Loyalty, it seemed, had its limits. The judge upheld every term of the prenuptial agreement. No loopholes. No compromises. Martin left with what remained in his personal account, a few of his belongings, and a reputation in shambles. He had to sell his car and move into a modest apartment across town. The beachfront dreams, the luxury lifestyle, the reinvention, it all evaporated. I retained the house, the majority of our joint investments, my retirement accounts, and full ownership of my business. Justice, poetic and precise. As we walked out of court, Martin approached me one last time. Moving slowly, as if he wasn't sure he had the right. "I made a terrible mistake," he said quietly. "Is there any chance we could I didn't let him finish. No, I said, gentle but unwavering. That door is closed. He nodded. And for the first time in years, I believed he actually understood. I hope you find happiness, Camille. You deserve it. 6 months later. Lawson Financial Transitions was thriving. I moved into a larger office, hired 2 associates, and continued helping women take control of their financial futures, after divorce, loss, or reinvention. Jenna visited often, sometimes bringing lunch, sometimes just to sit and chat. You know what's funny? She said during one visit. If Dad had just been honest, he might have kept half. Sometimes. I replied, people can't see past what they want in the moment. I had spent years defining myself as Martin's wife, as Jenna's mom. Now, I was something else entirely. That envelope I placed beside Martin's plate on graduation day wasn't just my exit. It was my beginning.